This is the Nerdy Things Podcast. This podcast contains strong language, adult themes, and poorly developed ideas. We apologize for nothing. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 64 of the Nerdy Things Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kevin, joined as always by Jules. Hey, Jules.
Heyo.
And by Tim. What's going on, Tim?
Start of the most awkward episode yet out of 64.
Oh, boy.
So we started recording late. Now we're drinking. Now we're just showing things maybe to Patreon, possibly. It'll get there somewhere before the podcast. But guys, Avengers Infinity War, the biggest the biggest movie with the biggest podcast ever we're about to do right now. Get excited and please let's not be ourselves. Let's be actually professional this time. We have a lot of people listening to this one, so
if we're gonna be professionals, I want to be a plumber.
Oh, like
yeah, that's what my dad
used to be. Yeah.
Not what you meant.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sure.
It's the most ambition.
I make one tweet out of the billions of tweets I ever tweet. Tim catches the one I messed up on. Whatever.
Most ambition.
Yeah, so as Tim said, the most ambition ever in this podcast. We reached out to our friends. We reached out to all the podcasters, everybody that we ever have known, we talked to, and people that we don't know, and had them send in their audio about Avengers Infinity War. We're going to talk about it. We're going to play some of their audio, of course, later on in the episode. Usually in the Nerdy Things Podcast episode, we talk about some nerdy news first. We're going to keep that pretty short, and then we're going to get into our huge discussion of Avengers Infinity War and the most ambitious podcaster event of the year. We had, I think, 23 or so podcasts, and all that, like 2 or 3 co-hosts for some of them. So we have a ton of podcasters coming up. It's going to be insane. So stick around for that. And if you like what we do, and if you like our voices, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That would be awesome. Don't forget, you can reach us on most social media at NerdyThingsPod. That's NerdyThingsPod. You can send us an email at nerdythingspod@gmail.com. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news updated daily, and links to our merch for shits and more. So as this podcast comes out, we're going to have some new merch. New merch right now. We have Nerdy AF and Gamer AF, which is pretty cool, some cool designs. And we also have Thanos is my dad merch up right now in the merch store, nerdythingspod.com. I know Courtney's probably going to want that one. That was mainly for her because she really loves Thanos for some reason, and it's kind of awkward. But we have 3 new merch designs. You can get them on shirts. You can get them on hoodies, laptop cases, stickers, whatever, and they are 20% off for the first 3 days. Go ahead and go to nerdythingspod.com to get all of our merch. We have over 25 different logos, designs, all that stuff on our merch store. Click the merch tab, do all that stuff. We also have links to YouTube to watch the podcast episodes, our Patreon for extra content like bloopers. You probably see some bloopers of this episode and some other really cool things going up on our Patreon very soon. Only $1, and you get the podcast a day earlier than everybody else, and that's pretty awesome. We also have a voicemail that you can call or text us. We have a number, 978-78-NERDY. That's 978-786-3739. You can leave us a voicemail, talk to us about stuff, tell us your Avengers Infinity War story, whether you liked it, whether you did it. And I think we have a voicemail right now, no?
Do we? Did we get a voicemail this week?
Yeah, Courtney.
All right, hold on one second. Yeah, that's right. I forgot to edit her. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up.
Future Kev, edit this out.
Right? Seriously.
Hi, this is Courtney, Lumnite at Instagram. Otherwise, I'm also a Patreon too, non-shameless plug. Just wanted to kind of weigh in on the Bruce Campbell thing, just because I know that I'm probably not going to have a chance to anytime soon. He is retiring as Ashley Williams from Ash vs. Evil Dead.
So sad.
I don't foresee that he's actually going to pick up that role again, and I think that's what's dividing the fan base so much right now. If you are involved in the Bruce Campbell fandom, it's pretty divided right now as far as like people like right when the news was released that Stars was not going to be picking up the show again for a fourth season, people were kind of flipping out. They were going to, like Netflix, because it was a huge deal that Netflix had picked up Ash vs. Evil Dead seasons 1 and 2 to their streaming, to stream them. But people were kind of flipping out, hoping that Netflix would pick up the fourth season. But it seems like it's kind of more of a mutual thing. I think Bruce was just kind of sick of being Ash, and I just don't foresee that he's actually going to pick up the role again. But his fans are pretty rabid, obviously. There's some that are respecting the fact that he is retired, and there's some that are still pushing it. And I think he kind of treats his fans as like, he's kind of a charming asshole. So he knows his fans are going to follow him wherever he goes. So like I said, I don't foresee him picking up the role of Ash anytime soon. I think he's going to try some new things, probably work on some independent projects. And he knows that the people that love him will be following him. But yeah, just wanted to weigh in on that. Tim, if you're interested in watching Bruce Campbell shows or movies, I have awesome recommendations. Bubba Hotep, Man with a Screaming Brain, Alien Apocalypse. They're kind of on the same tier as Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I mean, so if you liked that movie, which it sounded like you did, and this goes for all of you, I would recommend those movies. Otherwise, he's also in some like older 90s shows like Warrior Princess and Briscoe County Jr., as was mentioned. But yeah, that's kind of just my way in on that. You made a comment that I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, and I'm just gonna clarify something. I don't really have any loyalty to Tobey Maguire. The absolute only reason I like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies is because of Sam Raimi, and Bruce Campbell makes a cameo in every one of those movies. So that's how far the fandom goes down the rabbit hole for me. So yeah, anyway, thanks for taking my message, and feel free to cut this down. I know it's a little long-winded, but thank you. Keep up the good work. Bye.
That's awesome. Thank you,
Courtney. You're fired.
You're
oh
forgiven.
My God.
Everything is forgiven.
I have made a fool. My goodness. I am alone in my Tobey Maguire stan love.
It's all right. You're charming, so it's fine. We've done
several comments there. One, this is really a thing?
Oh, yeah.
This whole Bruce Campbell,
no idea.
My
Ash,
man.
whole Williams, that's really a thing? Secondly, she just took a bus and backed it up on you, Jules.
Oh my God,
like,
my heart.
You were hanging your hat that you had a partner in crime with this whole thing here with Peter Parker and being Tobey Maguire, and she just backed it up. Beep, beep.
Wow.
So that's cool.
That
clap,
slow clap it up for her. Go. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
If chins could kill. Bruce Campbell is the man. Okay. Honest to God. I love Bruce Campbell. I would go to the ends of
That's far from the most impressive chin that I've seen, but
they're very impressive chins. But yeah, if you're we talked about Bruce Campbell and all that stuff on the last episode. If you want to go Ash for President 2016, Kevin is holding up his sign, Ash for President. All right.
Hey, when I went and voted, I wore an Underwood for president shirt to the voting booth. So.
But yeah, we talked about Ash last week, and thank you so much, Courtney, for your voicemail. And I did not know those voicemails can go so long, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate anybody that wants to do voicemails. That is awesome. Keep doing those. Keep sending those in, and we would love to hear and play them on our show. And yeah, that's awesome. Let's accept the whole Tobey Maguire thing. Let's go into the nerdy news. Let's do it.
All right.
Nerdy news
at 6:00. So we wanted to keep the news a little short this week because I expect we'll go a little long with the Avengers just because there's so much to talk about. And most of it I don't want to talk about with Tim because of what he's been saying all week. But we did want to mention a couple of things, and I wanted to open the floor to talk a little bit about the Harry Potter app that is out because we've been receiving a lot of feedback on it. Tim, what do you got?
So I'm almost done with year one.
Oh, boy.
I just play all the time because of the energy thing. That's been, if you go through, check us out on Instagram. We had a post about the app earlier this week, and it was one of our most commented on posts ever. So there was a lot of feedback, but most of it seems to be The word that people use was quote unquote fix the energy thing.
Yes.
The energy thing is not broken. It's just how it
Sure.
works. So it's not a matter of fixing it. It's just a matter of you don't like the way that it works, which I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess I'm in agreement with. But if it weren't for that, there'd be no strategy in the game whatsoever. The game is super basic. I just want to go through the story. But you have to wait for your energy to refill. And the thing is, as long as you start a task, they give you like hours to finish them. So the energy can refill. It's just you can't continue to play the game. But honestly, like I said, it's been out a week. I'm through year 1 already. If it wasn't for the energy having a refill, I'd probably be done and graduated Hogwarts by now. So they have to slow you down a little bit. But the game's super basic. It's just the story is kind of engaging. I just want to know where it's going, so it's keeping me playing, and that's Harry Potter. That's Harry Potter. The whole point of Harry Potter is to engage you in a story, so at least it's doing that.
Sure. So
that's kind of my thoughts.
So we're talking about what is it called? Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery? Is that what it's called? Hogwarts
Yes.
Mystery on the mobile devices. We talked about it last week. It's on Apple. I think it's on Android as well. But I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. We talk about it all the time. Me and Tim are huge. All of us, huge Harry Potter fans. I have 2 tattoos, but I just can't do this whole thing. I don't know why. I only got up to, getting on the broom, playing Quidditch, or not Quidditch, but doing the actual class for it. And the whole energy thing had me not so much done. I was willing to wait, but I would always forget because you only have a set amount of time to come back to the thing. And it's like, oh, your energy is back or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's just another notification that I just scroll through pretty much. And the timing times out for me. So I'm still stuck on this one thing that every time you play it, you have to wait for energy.
It tells you you have an hour to complete.
I know, and I have 3 hours, and I don't come back.
Use all of your energy, and then you know how long it's going to take to refill your energy, so you just make sure you go back to it within the time allotted.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying,
the only strategy involved in the game. That's like literally
what I'm saying is I don't care enough to come back. That's what it is. And it's like,
that's because you haven't gotten far enough in the story.
Exactly,
Jules.
but I don't have that much time.
You haven't met Ben.
I don't need that much time. I met Ben.
You haven't found out about the vaults and the ice.
I played a solid maybe two hours without waiting and stuff like that. So, or with some waiting, but I'm not counting the 2 hours as waiting time. I'm actually counting it as gameplay, and that's like too long. I got stuck on Marvel Puzzle Quest. Marvel Puzzle Quest is my game right now. So that's what I'm playing. I went into play this Hogwarts Mystery, and I came out with Marvel Puzzle Quest. And if y'all want to join my clan or whatever it's called, I'm down. Let's go.
You downloaded the wrong app then. I mean, that is not Harry Potter related at all.
No, wrong. Yeah.
Well, I did discover this week because we talked on the news many, many months ago about a Harry Potter game that was going to be augmented reality and interactive. And I thought Niantic was doing it. And then we get this Hogwarts Mystery game, which is from Portkey Games. And it wasn't what we talked about. And I was confused. However, I looked it up a bit this week. There are actually 2 Harry Potter games in the works. The one we just got, and Niantic is developing an interactive AR Harry Potter game that is slated to come out later this year, but apparently there's some scuttlebutt that it will be pushed off to next year. So if this isn't your cup of tea, the thing that we talked about before where there might be interactive wizarding, that is coming. That is coming later on. So
no, this is my cup of tea. I'm just stuck. I'm in Diagon Alley, and it keeps telling me to click on some books. So once I figure that out,
once you find those books,
sailing.
There's tons of books in Diagon Alley. So once you find them, Kev, you'll get it. You'll get it. But we would definitely love to hear more about what you like, what you don't like, the energy, quote unquote, crisis that's going on, whatever. Definitely find us the energy crisis in Hogwarts Mystery. I just came up with that one. Awesome. On Instagram, we're on there, and we already said at Nerdy Things Pod on pretty much everything. So yeah, let's keep it going.
Fantastic. Well, the other thing we wanted to talk about this week was the new president of Nintendo. They named their new president on Thursday or Friday. Basically, I don't have any more information on it. Tim, you were the one that brought this up. What do you got?
So when Iwata, or however you say his name, passed away, not to be disrespectful, I'm just really bad at pronouncing names. English,
think
Japanese, or
Sure.
otherwise. When he passed away last year, which was tragic because he had been a great president for Nintendo, they had an interim president that stepped up, and he's been doing a pretty good job because the Switch has been killing it. But they recently promoted a new president, and I've got to find his name because my article went away.
fantastic.
And again, I'm
You
not
are
very
as
good
prepared as I was.
at- well, I was
Jeez,
prepared,
guys.
and
Nope.
then it just
That's
Y'all
went
are
away.
embarrassing me in front of all my podcasting friends.
You don't have
Ugh.
podcasting friend.
His name is Furukawa. I'm pretty sure that one I got
Okay.
right. That's easier than most. His name is Furukawa. But I do know some stuff about him. He's only 46 years old. Look at this. No
What?
notes. I actually was prepared. I just didn't know his name because I'm bad with names. But he's 46 years old, and he's been with Nintendo like over 20 years. So pretty much almost his first job out of college was working as a programmer or engineer, I forget which, for Nintendo, and he's been working his way up the ranks ever since. So this guy is two things. He's inside Nintendo. He's definitely born in that culture. But we've seen as the Switch has launched, they were handing over the reins to a younger group of people. Miyamoto is taking more of a producer's role in almost everything. And there's a younger core of developers, engineers, business people, idea people at Nintendo that are really pushing them in a different direction. And apparently he's a respected leader in that group. And he wants to obviously continue the success of the Switch and build off of that. But he sees a huge future in the mobile arena, which they've dabbled their feet into, but he wants to build that into a $1 billion part of their business on top of what they're already doing with the console gaming. So he's ambitious,
Sure.
he's driven, he's got big ideas, and he's young Nintendo. And I like it. I think this is a great move to shift in that direction and have a permanent fixture again at the helm of my favorite gaming
So
company.
I'm seeing a lot of trends in gaming where everybody's switching to mobile apps, and every company out there is doing a battle royale style game. So I'm really hoping that we get like a Mario battle royale app.
Oh
just
my
to, just to
god.
really like bring everything together and just really show what a shit show it is. Because I'd be behind that 100%.
Are you done with the whole
But knowing
battle royale
Nintendo,
thing?
they'll do it 3 years from now after the battle royale fad is over, because Nintendo loves to come into the game.
Sure.
late.
Exactly
There's
right.
one thing I love about them.
Kev, are you really done with like the whole battle royale thing?
I am.
Like,
A couple weeks ago, I
you're
talked
over it?
about how I found that like 4 or 5-year-old game RoboCraft, and I thought it was really
Yeah.
cool. I don't think it's really cool anymore. I cannot play that game anymore. It is a shit show. They have changed the core game so much that it is unplayable. And on top of that, they are now focusing on a completely separate battle royale style version of this game that originally cost $50, and then on release day they were like, yeah, no one's buying it. Guess what, we're refunding everybody, but it's still free to play, and also you can buy add-ons. And the battle royale does away with all of the cool parts of the game. Like, the cool part of RoboCraft was building and fighting. This is just kind of fighting, and you can find different robots, but they're mostly ridiculous and useless, like a flying banana or a chicken on legs, and it's just awful. Like, it just makes me sad. It really does.
Sure. Well, I'm finding myself on the opposite, and because I mean, I'm not the biggest gamer right now, and I found myself watching a whole lot of Ninja. We talked about him. He broke his record, broke the highest record for Twitch streaming, and then he broke his own record at an event in Vegas like a couple weeks ago. So he's a huge Twitch streamer. He's doing Fortnite. I'm watching his gameplays. I'm there sitting down just watching him play Fortnite because he's so good, because the game looks really interesting and the game's engaging, and I've never actually sat down to play a game of Fortnite, so maybe that's what it is. But I'm slowly getting into it, and I still haven't gotten a chicken dinner on PUBG, so I'm kind of still sad about that one. But I don't know. We would love to know thoughts on your battle royale spectrum of if you love it, if you hate it, are you done with it, what's next? But this whole Nintendo going into mobile can be huge, can be fantastic. Going into mobile more than they already are, it's going to be insane.
That could be sweet. And the last cool thing that happened this week was the new Ant-Man and Wasp trailer that came out, which looks amazing.
We already had another trailer before that, but they were kind of marketing this one on Sunday and Monday as like, oh, well, I guess spoilers, but it was all over Marvel on everything. But they were like, where was Ant-Man and Wasp or during Avengers Infinity War? What's going on? Find out in the trailer the next day. And it didn't really explain. It really didn't explain anything. It was just kind of a marketing ploy. I was like, okay, well, this is really cool still, but you were like, where were they? Well, I guess they're in this movie, and it'll be during the yeah, they're in the trailer the whole time. We found them. We found them, guys.
But, well, that's my theory. Yeah. My theory is
where have they been? They've been out doing Ant-Man and Wasp things for some unknown reason, not with the rest of the Avengers. They did sit. Well, we'll talk about it in the movie, I guess. I don't need to say that, but yeah, it's there. There was definitely no explanation that would right away what they were talking about in the movie. But it's a cool looking trailer, and I love that when they have series like this that have a certain voice, like they did with Guardians, just letting James Gunn take it and run with it. That Peyton Reed is directing this as well, so it's going to have its own voice, and it's going to be consistent. And I like that they're doing that with some of these one-off movies as opposed to kind of bouncing us around a little bit. That's a smart way to have a character, just speak the same way in every iteration.
Very nice. I would lead into that, but going into the Avengers talk and stuff, the Ant-Man and Wasp voice, the Ant-Man voice is unique, like you were saying, and all these other voices in Avengers is very unique, and it does show and shine in Avengers, the whole movie. We're going to talk about it right now, but that's super cool that all these characters have their own way of thinking. They all have their own way of speaking, and so many huge egos and they can all put them together and they would still sound how they're supposed to, and that's super cool. And I can't wait till Ant-Man and Wasp join and all that stuff,
because that didn't make the movie confusing.
Thanks, Ed Hale. So anyway, it's time for the main topic. So as we have alluded to, or flat out said, we're going to be talking the Avengers this week. How could we talk anything but Avengers this week, especially? I mean, honest to God, I just can't even imagine.
You didn't want to cut this for Super Troopers?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's scrap this idea. We're gonna talk an hour about Super Troopers real quick, guys.
I would have taken it.
I didn't even see Super Troopers. Okay, let's do it.
Oh boy, I saw Avengers twice. So, the most ambitious podcaster crossover. There are a ton of podcasters that send in their audio. First off, there's a few things I want to say before we start playing some audio. We're gonna play some right now. We're gonna play some later. We're going to talk non-spoilers first. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't seen it yet and you're listening to this, but we're going to talk non-spoiler stuff, just very little, and then we'll get into it. But a few things, I edited your audio a little bit. Some people I took out more than other stuff because
y'all are long-winded.
I asked for a minute.
This is our podcast. We asked for like a little bit of your thoughts and thought we'd do you a favor and put you out there, but y'all just like, I'm going to talk as long as I want to talk. Well, this is still our damn show. Yeah. But thanks for helping us out. We appreciate it.
Tim's the mean one to hate him. I'm Jules. Hey. So, yeah.
I'm the charming asshole.
Yeah, you're the charming asshole.
Light on the charming.
I'm just the asshole. Jules is just charming. That's how that works.
Oh, cool. Hey, we got a flow chart now.
We got that thing, that circle thing that they do.
That'll be fun for like people like, are you more a Kevin? Are you more a Tim? But
we should do.
Anyways, I asked for a minute of audio so I can cut it down into little chunks and I can add all of y'all together and make it cohesive and it'll sound cool. And a lot of y'all sent in audio and we really do appreciate it. A lot of y'all sent in a lot of audio. I had to cut a lot of it down. I am sorry. And if it makes you seem like you're saying something that you aren't, that was not my intention. That my intention was to make it sound cohesive and make it sound as best as I could with the 20 plus podcasts that sent in audio. Yeah.
Feel free to clarify yourself on social media this week if you feel you were misrepresented. You probably just want to fight me when this is all done anyway. So.
But all the links to all the podcasts that you're going to hear are going to be down in the description. We do appreciate all of y'all. Y'all are amazing. We're going to play some non-spoiler audio right now to get this conversation started.
Hey guys, this is David of Blame Your Brother, and what were my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War? I loved it. Now, that's not to say it was perfect. I did have a few problems with it, which are kind of spoiler heavy, so I won't go into them here. It's not better than Dark Knight, but it is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. So I give it 2 big thumbs up.
Hi, I'm Renee Rhodes. I'm the DM for Fate and the Fable Maidens. I am still reeling and recovering from Infinity War. I would say it's masterfully done. I would say that it was an incredible movie that is definitely worth the build from the past 10 years. But I also don't know that I'm emotionally recovered enough to call it good yet. I've had a D&D character inspired by Gamora for the past 8 years, and I've been very emotionally invested in her and her quest to stop her demonic abusive father from destroying the world. So that was hard.
Hey guys, this is David Rosen from Piecing It Together. Just getting right down to it, I freaking loved it. I'm not actually a big superhero guy, but totally fun. It was, the first thing, of course, is getting together every possible superhero, and they freaking do it and pull it off great.
I'm John Bailey, and I host the Popcorn Junkie movie review and discussion podcast over on the Gumby Cat Networks. I loved Infinity War. It's currently my favorite of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the one thing I'm looking forward to most is when it hits DVD, because that's when the YouTube in memoriam videos will come out. Mine's going to be set to Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you have a time.
Hi,
Time of your
and
life.
also Why Gaming on YouTube. Josh Brolin was amazing as Thanos. He owned that character, and it was really his film. The way that the writing and his performance made you feel for him, even though he had such a horrific plot that he played out incredibly, is just a testament to what Marvel have been doing with the MCU up until this point. They've ripped the heart out of the MCU, and I cannot wait to see what they do with it.
Hey, this is Super Hopped Up. I'm Chris. I'm Mike.
I'm Dave.
I really hated it. I thought the whole Thanos' emotions with Gamora was completely forced and kind of terrible. I thought that some of the best characters in the series, like Captain America, Falcon, Black Widow, Black Panther, were completely underused and just kind of made as like stand-ins. Star-Lord sucks for no other reason than he's supposed to suck. But Doctor Strange, Rule, Iron Man, and Spider-Man were really good.
See, I liked it a bit more than you did. I liked how they made an attempt to have Thanos be a little more than just a typical one-dimensional, stronger version of the hero. And the Tony Stark-Peter Parker relationship is probably the most human component that has ever been introduced to this franchise. I just wish they were a little more willing to kill off some of the A-list team members.
I love this fucking movie. I love when Thanos summoned Meteor. I love when Thor was like, only if I die. Dave Bautista and the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of save it as far as comedy goes. I love the Lackeys. Red Skull cameo, very much appreciated. And an awesome downer ending, one of the best of the Marvel movies.
Hi, this is Steph from Two Chicks in the Plural of Apocalypse. I know my podcast is about the TV show Supernatural, but I am also a big MCU fangirl. And my co-host and I actually met when we were stalking the set of the first Avengers film in 2011 in Cleveland, Ohio.
That's fair.
And I can't speak for her, but I can speak for me when my review of Avengers Infinity War would honestly just be 2 hours of me shrieking in a dark room alone, because that's honestly how it made me feel. There were so many good parts to it. There were some parts where it's like, why are you doing this to me? But I have honestly no complaints.
Hello, this is Connor O'Brien and Kyle Turner from The M Word.
We're here to talk about our opinions on Infinity War. Now, I have seen it. Connor, you have not.
This is a true statement.
First of all, it's basically a sequel to all of the Marvel movies. So, like, the last decade, imagine if they just made a sequel for all those movies in the same time, and then they put Barney as the villain. That's what Infinity War is.
Wow.
Less hugs than Barney, but that's it. And then, without spoiling it, since I know you haven't seen it, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean, the first three movies?
Yes.
Do you remember the feeling after the end of the second one, whenever he's like right in front of the Kraken, and then it just cuts to credits?
Yes, I was aroused.
You're going to have that exact same arousal at this one.
Nice.
I'm Hunter Ferris from Song Appeal, a podcast on the psychology of pop and soundtrack music, and I'm here to chime in about the Infinity Score. I was disappointed with how few themes were used in the film. And if all of the MCU themes represented characters in our minds, it would have made sense to include more themes in Infinity War, because variations on the themes could have helped tell the story. For example, a sad version of the Guardians of the Galaxy theme could have highlighted what Rocket and Groot were feeling at the end. And if all of the themes worked this way, it would have made the Infinity Score a glorious thematic tapestry showing the nuances of each character's experience. But the MCU themes don't work this way, because most of the MCU themes aren't noticed by our conscious minds. That way they can give us a more effective subconscious message of what these characters represent and what these films are. Since these themes are designed to deliver information to our subconscious minds rather than represent a character to our conscious minds, having too many themes would have sent so many subconscious messages that we wouldn't know which message to receive at any given moment. Again, I'm Hunter Ferris from Song Appeal. Have a great day and enjoy your music.
Hi, this is Gerald Glasser from the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Avengers Infinity War is an event 10 years and 18 films in the making, and it doesn't disappoint in the slightest. Sure, there are tweaks that could have been made here or there, but all credit must go to the Russo brothers for navigating what could have been a complex journey into a thrilling adventure that kept me and everyone else on the edge of their seat the entire time. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you do, as this truly is part one of an awesome closure to this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hey guys, this is Keith from the Pop-Up Filmcast. Infinity War, I mean, what can I say? It made me laugh. It made me cry. I loved it more than Cats. Technically, I've never seen Cats, but at this point in time, I'm pretty sure Infinity War is better than that as well. It's a great round out of 10 years of activity, and it's going to be, I'm hoping, a great springboard for what they've got coming up in the future. But I'm not going to say too much more details. There's a lot of stuff I loved. One or two things I hated, but it's still better than Cats.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Dan. I'm from the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast, which we don't normally talk that many movies because my co-host Spike never watches any. He's quite useless in that regard. But we do talk a lot of politics and a lot of American politics as well. We're kind of obsessed with Donald Trump. So if you're into that sort of thing, maybe check us out. Two Skeptical Chaps. I don't know what else to say. I don't like talking about myself, Kevin. I watch a lot of movies. I've watched a lot of Marvel movies. I've just seen Infinity War, which we're going to talk about.
A lot of thoughts, and Two Skeptical Chaps actually talked to Kevin, which is kind of cool. So they talked to Kevin. It's going to be what did you say? What did you say? An hour-long conversation
just
about
shy of an hour, yeah.
Just shy of an hour. It's going to be on our Patreon. And go ahead and go to that if you want to hear the whole conversation. nerdythingspod.com. Click the little Patreon tab. But
let's get going. Let's redirect, because we're suffering from Infinity War syndrome, where people are losing themselves in all the voices. So let's get back on track.
All right.
Let's talk about this.
So, I mean, we're still in non-spoilers. Infinity War.
And there was
Thanos,
some spoilers.
Everybody was in this movie. I loved this movie. Jules,
what an accomplishment.
Everybody
was in it. Nice job.
So I watched Tim's faces throughout the whole thing, and I can tell one thing, that he didn't really love it, but I loved it. It was fantastic. I saw it twice. It was great. I mean, there's not so much that we can say other than what everybody else said, and we'll get into all the different, things. But right now, go see it. It's great. Fantastic.
I can sum this movie up in one word. Meh.
Wow. All right.
So 2 go see it and 1 meh, and we're going to get into it. There was some mess in the other audio with the rest of the podcasters. Don't worry if you didn't hear your voices right now. There's going to be another audio clip later on, but probably at the end, just to so they can round that out. But let's get into it. Let's get into some talk here.
If you haven't seen it, don't. Just stop. Just stop listening to us. I don't even know why you're here. What are you doing? Just go away. Go away.
Do we want to get some broad strokes, or do we want to get right into the actual taking apart of the movie? Because I feel like there's some things that Tim needs to let out at the beginning. No,
Tim, rant.
You want like spoilers?
Yeah,
or what am I doing?
Go ahead, buddy. Let it out.
So, what a mess. Like, what an absolute mess. This story jumped all over the place. It was like I watched 7 different movies. There was no cohesive feeling from one. Like, I'd go here and I'm in an Iron Man movie. And then I went here and I was in a Spider-Man movie, but Iron Man happened to be in it. And then I went over here and I was in a Captain America movie. And then I was in an Avengers movie with Thor crossed over. That I liked. That movie was really good. I would like to see that movie. So if they could have cut this into that movie, that would have been fantastic. But I was jumping all over the place, and there was no cohesion to it. But also, because I was jumping all over the place, nothing, like I keep talking, I was on the edge of my seat, blah, blah, blah. Okay, first 5 minutes, Loki dies. That was sad. That was really sad. But as they kept going on, it felt like things that were happening. I'm not really sure if these things really mean anything. It was just that vibe for me the whole time. Like every time something big would happen, I'd be like, there wasn't enough behind this that I'm sure I should care about it. And then we get to the end, and I'm just going to say what happened at the end because this is my biggest fundamental issue with the whole movie. Half of the world dies. But name the characters, name the big characters that died in that whole vanishing scene for me, would you?
Yeah, okay. Falcon?
Black Panther?
All
Spider-Man?
of the Guardians?
Okay.
All of the Guardians.
Spider-Man, all of
Doctor
the Guardians.
Strange?
What are two movies that we absolutely know for a fact are confirmed to be on the slate of Marvel movies being released in the next 3 years? Spider-Man Homecoming 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy. None of those deaths meant anything.
Tim, you have the weirdest first world problems. You know that?
That we know
seriously,
too much. We know too much in the real world.
No, yeah, we know too much, but my point is the movie meant nothing. So those guys are going to come back. We know that, which means can Gamora come back? Gamora might come
Probably
back.
not.
Nothing that happened in this movie because they're going to find a way to go back and rescue these characters. So I'm left feeling like this was just a giant hour and a half long, nothing really
That's
happened.
what literally every comic book reader goes through literally every time they read a comic. Oh my God, all these characters are going to die.
Why did I sit in this movie for 2.5 hours building up to something when we could have just skipped forward, just said he got the Infinity Stones and just started off with one movie that actually mattered?
I sat to the Battle of Hogwarts.
I sat in the theater for 2.5 hours to watch events unfold that literally don't matter.
It's almost like it was setting up a story. It's almost like it was telling you a story and showing you the awesome parts of that story. That's a terrible way to do this.
2.5 hours of my time. You're going to make me go to see two movies instead of one when the first movie is going to get erased. Who cares?
Let's get into some of the stuff that you were talking about, and I don't want to go scene by scene because everybody's watched it, everybody's talking about it, whatever. But I do kind of want to go through some of the big things and some of the groups that we see and how we, if we like them, if we don't, whatever. So the opening scene, like you were saying, Tim, Loki died, Heimdall died as well.
Heimdall was so sad.
That was a sad one. The first scene really had me going.
The opening scene,
I will say, the first scene got me going.
It shows how impressive Thanos is in hand-to-hand combat and how formidable he was.
He wrecks the Hulk. Like we saw in Civil War, Hulk and Iron Man fought for, I don't know, 12 minutes straight. I'm sure it was less than that, but like it felt like forever. Where in this, Thanos walks up, neck punches the Hulk once, and the Hulk is like, "Oh, I'm sleepy now," and passes out. That was the fight. That shows that Thanos is super strong. Here he is with one stone. It's the power stone that the Guardians for some reason left on Xandar. But he also has the
just left it there for who? Yeah, right. Because whatever. The first example in a series of this whole storyline being based on stupid decisions.
Yeah.
Example number one. But let's go.
I mean, that's the Guardians. That's what they do.
No, it wasn't just them.
I mean,
I know, but I'm saying that one.
The whole planet was there to defend this stone. Where else are you going to put this that it's safe? Nowhere. Nope.
So yeah, we see Thanos being a force to be reckoned with, somebody that's fast, he's powerful, he's strong, whatever. And later on, they do say that, or Thor does say in passing, sort of, that he did not kill all the Asgardians. A lot of people are saying that all the Asgardians are dead. What's going to happen? Whatever. But he does mention he killed half of my Asgardian people.
In true Thanos fashion, he is out to kill half.
Sure, I definitely want to get into
that. Ship was ripped in half. That was only half the ship.
So that was like the whole opening scene. I really did love it. It was beautifully shot, I think, and the whole Loki thing is whatever. Then we get some groups. We get a whole lot of groups that kind of set the movie forward. And the first group I want to talk about is Iron Man, Wong, Doctor Strange, Hulk, and Spider-Man.
No, I'm sorry. It was Bruce Banner and
Bruce Banner. My bad. I have it written wrong here. All right, Bruce Banner. All right. So how do you like these personalities going at each other for the very first time?
Excuse me, Beard Bros? Yes. I loved that.
Oh, God.
I loved that when he was like, did you seriously just use henceforth or whatever it was? I forget the exact word. And Doctor Strange is like, are you seriously leaning on the cauldron of Calamity.
Whoever.
Yeah.
Cauldron
Oh
of
my
Calamity.
God.
Now in the Nerdy Things merch store.
Right? Like, yes. Oh my God. Like you've got the same. Yes. I love that.
So one of the things I've been looking forward to for all these years in crossovers is there are so many snarky, sarcastic characters in the MCU, and I couldn't wait for them to out sarcastic each other. And Doctor Strange and Tony Stark, because we know Tony Stark has been my favorite Marvel character, that lived up to the hype. Those guys being snarky at each other was pretty fantastic. And Peter Parker being mixed in was really annoying for the most part until his pop culture references came in later on, but that involved another
Yeah.
character, so I guess we're not there
Sure.
yet. But
Yeah, I'm talking about the
yeah.
main the opening scene. Bruce Banner falls through the sky and then they go outside. I really like the cinematography at that point. I mean, in the opening scene as well, it uses a lot of well, one of our friends, our podcaster, talked about music, but they used a lot of lack of music. So they used a lot of silence to kind of, sort of portray this like, oh my God, something's happening. What's going on? The whole hairs moving, the wind. They look out the door and it's just silence, and you can just hear like mild muffled screams of people. And that was an actually really cool scene for me, especially watching it the second time. I don't know why. And then we see some of the bad guys and stuff, and then bleeding edge Iron Man suit, the nanotechnology. Are we going to talk about it? What is it? What is that? What's going on? I
It's
mean,
awesome. That's what it is.
It's
That was
awesome.
the
That's
coolest
it.
thing. I mean, that was a natural extension of the glove we saw in Civil War. It's what Tony has been working towards each time. And we saw in Iron Man 3 the different iterations of his suit and how he just makes it better each time. He's trying to make it more compact. He's trying to make it more versatile. This is what came of that. And I'm assuming it's because he saw some of the tech from Wakanda. He knows what's possible. Maybe he reverse engineered something. I don't know. But I think this was awesome. So great. And what a cool way to still get the chest piece from him, because it's a housing for the nanoparticle.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Because I think in the comic right now it says like it's stored inside of his bone marrow or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was. I don't know
actually
if it
in
still
his
is, but
skin.
yeah.
But yeah, for right now it says that it's in the housing in the little chest plate, and you just see it kind of just form and constrict over his body, and all this stuff is just coming out from his mind. From what I'm assuming, they don't really explain what it is, but he has control over it with his mind. And
Yeah, I'm assuming he set up macros. I mean, this thing is probably tapped into, because he had in Iron Man 3, he injected the little things into his arm that would take his muscular movements and translate those. So I'm assuming he's done something else with, like, we've seen the framework for this. So we can say, well, you know what? It's Tony Stark. It's been 3 years. We know that he would do X, Y, and Z. It's not outside the scope of these movies.
Sure. What do you think the Hulk is going through this whole movie? Let's just knock out the Hulk talk right now, because this is the first time we see it. The Hulk. What is Bruce Banner going through? The Hulk. Was he just like super sad? Was his feeling, or did he finally meet his match and he just didn't want to come out anymore? Was he scared? What's going on in the Hulk's head right now?
I think it's exactly.
Who knows? They didn't explain it.
I think it's.
What do you think? Your opinion. That's what we do.
Tim, you got anything?
Well, when they don't write a hint or any type of anything into the story, what am I supposed to go off of? I don't know.
I think that
The Hulk storyline really annoyed me because, again, 2.5 hours of Hulk won't come out, so I can wait 2 more years to have it explained why
This is
Hulk
the
won't come out.
first time in history Hulk got his ass handed to him. Every other time
Yeah,
prior
sure,
to
maybe
this,
that's
he
it.
has won or just won by default. I mean, he had Thanos ruin him in seconds. That's devastating.
I felt like the Hulk was scared.
He's a child.
I felt like Hulk was scared. Yeah,
He's scared.
Hulk was scared.
That's all it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then we get the whole change. We get a split from the characters. Now we only have Iron Man, Strange, and Spider-Man on the ship. That's one group going forward. And we'll talk about, if you want to talk about that right now. On the ship, I still love that. I love the Spider-Man costume. I'm still not a fan of who's in the suit, but he's sort of working his way through.
His first suit looks super fake.
It does. It looked kind of bad.
Awful. It looked terrible. and it was one of my issues in in Civil War when they first introduced him. I was like, his suit looks too clean. It doesn't look real. Like, you don't need an actor if you're just going to have somebody who looks like he's a computer animated, like looks out of the Spider-Man video game that they've been showing for PS4. When he changed in the new suit, it got better. You'll give it that. But the first iteration of the suit it's just bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved the Iron Spider, if we're going to call it that, the Iron Spider suit. I thought that was amazing. And you're right. The scenes on the ship when he's like, "Oh, have you seen that really old movie, Aliens?"
That really old movie. Yeah.
Come on.
Like,
those were his best moments when he was talking pop culture and Tony didn't care, and then it meant something later. Like, those are his best moments in the movie and a half that we've seen him now, because he had his own movie. He was in part of Civil War and he's part of this movie. Those were his best moments. Sure. By far.
We get another grouping, sort of almost at this place in the movie. We get Guardians plus Thor. Thor is out. Thor's in the Guardians of the Galaxy. How do we feel about that?
Thor? I thought we had an
That's
angel that had a baby with a pirate.
The pirate angel. Yeah, that guy.
Dude, the way they were all fawning over Thor was fantastic. And the way that Thor just doesn't care. Unless you're complimenting him, he doesn't care about
Farewell,
you at all.
morons.
He is now my favorite Avenger. He has overtaken from Ragnarok now into this. He has overtaken Tony Stark. I just want more Thor.
God.
Give me more Thor.
No question.
Chris Hemsworth is awesome in this movie. His comic timing is absolutely brilliant. I loved every minute that Thor was on screen.
I loved when he was reforging the weapon and Peter Dinklage was like, "It'll kill you." And he's like, "Only if I die." Yeah.
Right?
That's what yes, exactly.
Yeah. Everything he does reeks of ignorant optimism. It's just like, I think I can do anything, and he's pretty much always right. So that's why he's forged this over 1,500 years. Yeah, this thing could kill me if I die, but if not, it'll be
love
great.
The depth that they show in that, because it's not just blind optimism. When he's talking to Rocket on the ship, and he's talking about how he has to do this to defeat Thanos because Thanos hasn't fought me yet, and Rocket goes, "Yeah, he has." And he goes, "Well, he hasn't fought me twice." And you see that like sad look on his face because he knows he is currently no match for Thanos. Like this is the same thing the Hulk is going through, but the Hulk is effectively mentally like 3 years old. So, right. I mean, I can't math, but I think Thor has like 6 years on him or something. And
I'm blown away by your math right now. The line.
And so, like, honest to God, he just has that sadness to him, but the optimism is what keeps him moving in life. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's fantastic. What about the moment
the whole Thor storyline, even not just his performance, but from Loki and Heimdall getting killed to Chris Hemsworth wearing that emotion in that conversation with Rocket, it was so far and away the most fully developed storyline, and the only thing in the movie that I truly felt. That was it right there. Sure. That was the part of the movie that I truly felt was the whole Thor thing. If I had just been able to see that part of the movie, I would have absolutely adored this.
Sure. The moments that he had with Gamora when they thought that he was going to turn on her, he was going to be mad about, "Oh, you're Thanos' daughter." And he's like, "Well, family kind of sucks sometimes." It's like he has his whole family line, the whole backstory with that. Whenever he talks to Rocket, which is the next grouping, which is Thor, Rocket, or Thor, Rabbit, and Tree, they go together and they go into the pod and they have their own conversations. And, he's talking to Rocket about all the stuff that he's been through and everything that he has to do, that he has to keep doing this. And it's just fantastic, fantastic character development that we didn't see from Thor in phase 1, which is kind of amazing that we see now. Because like you said, Tim, he's one of my favorites now. I think he is my favorite.
Yeah.
A lot of people's favorite as well.
It was so Rocket to hitch his wagon to Thor. Yeah. Like all he did was compliment him and agree with him, and Thor immediately was like, "Oh, so you are the captain of the ship. Clearly you agree with me. You are the smartest one here." And Rocket just always hitches his wagon to the smartest guy, biggest, strongest guy in the room. He's like, I'm with this guy. You morons go over here. It was so typical Rocket
It was everything Rocket needs. It's big weapons, it's the thrill of adventure, and as Peter Quill points out in the movie, it's the opposite direction from Thanos. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean that's Rocket in a nutshell.
Sure. And the whole
and he's also the ignorant optimist
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like he's always the guy who's like, we'll get out of this. I got a plan. Don't worry about it, because it always works.
11% of a plan.
Sure. And the whole Quill Thor thing, that whole play off of each other was fantastic. Where he deepened his voice.
funny.
Yeah.
You're not taking our ship. Oh my god.
I mean, so we get something that a lot of people don't like, and this is kind of a big gripe going into it. And I'm not too sure I'm fully sold on this part. The Gamora flashback scene, where we go back and we see Gamora as a child, where we see Thanos. He's showing his reasoning behind his quote unquote mission. He has to take half of civilizations to keep them going and things like that. Thanos takes Gamora, and how many children does Thanos have? I don't even know, because we've only seen like Gamora and Nebula. I wanted to ask Kevin, how many kids does he actually have? I thought it was a lot more.
Yeah, I don't even know that, to be real honest with you. I mean,
well, isn't it like a religion where they all call themselves children of Thanos?
I mean, the Black Order were children of Thanos, so there's another 5 there. And in the comics, I'm sure there are quite a few. But beyond that, I mean, I don't really know.
Well, it's clear that his desire, like he says he has this agenda that's, to save the world and stem overpopulation and stop what happened to his planet, so on and so forth. But it's very clear that by what he demands of his followers and by the way they present him, his real goal is to be seen as a god.
Sure.
That if he feels like if he's seen as a savior to these people, they will worship him as a god. And Loki even says that, when he knows he's going to die, he's like, you'll never be a god. So I think the whole children of Thanos is almost like the religion movement thing. But so far, the only like people he takes ownership that we've been introduced to is really Gamora and Nebula to a degree, not so much even her.
Sure. And we get shown actually, he splits them down in half, her whole people and all that stuff, and then we see him take over Gamora under his wing, and then we later find out that he does actually love her. Because
do you buy that?
That's what I'm saying. This was the most divisive thing.
Storyline?
I mean, I think we're not seeing the whole story with that, because he said he
of course not
ignored his
but that's their job. Show us the whole story.
No,
it's kind of long.
Well, I think part of your problem with this movie is that I don't think you understood, even if you knew, I don't think you understood how much this is part 1 of 2, or part 1 of.
I get that it's part 1 of part 2,
of 22,
but again,
or however you want to name this out.
I'm supposed to be emotionally invested, and his big sacrifice is to sacrifice Gamora, and she even says it. You don't love anyone, haha. This comes back to bite you. And then he sacrifices her, and it's like, oh, he really did love her after all. Bull. There was nothing that they showed me that really made me buy into that storyline. So as a viewer, how am I supposed to feel emotionally invested in that part of the story? I didn't buy it. Didn't buy it for 1 second.
You saw Guardians 2. The whole thing with Nebula and Gamora is that Nebula wasn't loved by Thanos. Gamora was. Gamora was his favorite. And every time
favorite and loved are 2 different things. She serviced him
absolutely better. However, they worked together for so long. He rescued her from her planet. She was supposed to have died there, and he changed his mind and pulled her up and raised her. I think he can't help but love her. I think it's just a natural thing that grew out of him caring for her. And I mean that in a very literal way, feeding her, raising her, that he grew to love her. I think he loved her
Guardians
attention too.
In Guardians and Guardians 2, we see Mary Poppins. Can't think of his name.
Mary Poppins.
Yondu. We see over the course of those 2 movies, example after example, where Yondu shows you, doesn't tell you, he shows you that he loved Peter Quill. So by the time it came down to it, and he's like, I'm your real daddy, I bought into that. They just told me. They just told me in this one instance, he threw him over the cliff. Oh, look, he really did love her. They never showed me anything that made me believe that. That whole storyline was empty to me, completely.
You know, I partially agree with you, Tim. And, you know, some of that was maybe because they wanted that sort of trickery, like, oh, haha, he's not going to get the stone because he's never loved anybody or anything. And we were supposed to think like Gamora and say like, oh my God, how is he going to get this stone? He's never going to get it. But it turns out that he loved her, quote unquote, question mark. I don't know what's going on. That didn't really tide me over a whole lot. I mean, I can fill in the blanks, but like I kind of agree with you, Tim. I shouldn't have to. And there was just too small of a scene. But again, this is a really long movie. We couldn't get everything
It's
we
part
wanted.
of this movie where this movie relies too much on gimmicks. And that's a gimmick. Like, I want to fool you into thinking he doesn't love anybody, and then, oh, look, he does. I want to put 70 million Avengers on the screen. That's a gimmick. Like, every part of this movie was a gimmick, but every gimmick that I'll point out, and we'll get into this, they don't quite work. That being one of them. It was a gimmick, and it didn't
missed
work.
the fundamental thing with that whole flashback to her childhood. Why the hell did he have a knife that small?
Right? Okay.
Who
There you go.
knows?
There's no
answer. One liner, mic drop. But you know, this whole thing, a lot of the movie deals with this idea of love, the idea of humans loving humans, human and robot, maybe, human and Titan, or whatever Gamora was. But Avengers constantly choose love and the love for others over everything else, and Thanos didn't, and that was kind of insane that this happened. That all these characters didn't want people to die, didn't want things to happen, whatever. There's a whole love story we're going to get into, but they all almost chose this love and the loving of somebody else.
No.
And Thanos chose no. What?
No, screw you, Jules. Star-Lord is the only man in this entire movie. Star-Lord is the only one of them that chose to kill the one he said he'd kill to protect the galaxy. He chose to kill a loved one. Yeah, Thanos replaced his gun with a bubble-blowing gun, but he didn't know that at the time. He shot Gamora in the neck. That's a man. No one else did that. Everyone else that was like...
Killing a woman. Nothing makes you a man like killing a woman.
Nothing makes you a man like sacrificing your loved one for the universe.
No, she made him commit to that, and he was a man of his word.
I love that.
100% agree with you on that point, Kevin. I actually, again, one of the better parts of the movie. When the Guardians were involved, it was generally
especially
I'm just gonna sit here
with one large
in that scene. If you look in the background, you had Tobias Funke from Arrested Development in one of those cages. The blue and everything just sitting there. Boom. Loved it.
That was, and we saw the credits go to Arrested Development there, and yeah, that whole conversation right now, I just sat quietly eating my Zarg nuts because I have mastered the art of invisibility.
I didn't even know you were there, Jules. Amazing.
Jesus. But yeah, fair point. I said Avengers. Is the Guardians part of the Avengers? No, not really. But the Avengers constantly chose love of somebody else over that. And right now, you know, love is not winning. Thanos is definitely winning. He has all the stones, and he sacrificed
and
what
let me
he
just
loved.
say one thing before we move on, because I'm going to keep harping on these negative points of this movie. This wasn't Rampage, okay? This wasn't like a dumpster fire. It wasn't, you know, the worst movie I've seen in years or anything like that. It's just that it's 10 years building, and there's so much hype. And the problems that it had, there was a lot to enjoy about the movie, but the problems that it had were so big that it just basically ruined the whole experience by the end. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna harp on these negative points because the negative points were so big. If they were a bunch of small ones, I'd be fine. They were so big. They were so fundamental to the core of this thing. But there were a lot of moments where I enjoyed watching.
And in some of the audio clips coming later on, at the end of this conversation, there are some people that really did not like it. So they're going to say some other stuff. But again, they sent 3 minutes or whatever, so I had to cut that down. But we have some diverging story arcs here that are going on into the movie. We were about halfway, I guess. So we have Wanda and Vision, and the refugees reunite with Cap, and he takes everybody to Wakanda. How do we like that? Do we like this sort of love story? The second time I watched it, I still got that jump scare when Vision got hit. I forgot like where it was, and I still just like jumped because that was super scary. But are we buying this love story? How do we feel about this whole other side, whatever?
You mean the love story being between Vision and Wanda?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it in Civil War. I'm
I didn't care
100%
about
on
it,
board with this. I love them.
I dig it.
I mean, Paul Bettany and
He's
Elizabeth Shue,
fantastic.
I'm all over that. I love Paul Bettany. But no, I think that they
Paul
are
Bettany's
great.
one of my
I think that that's, I mean, if you know from the comics, they're together for at least a while, and it's kind of awful for everybody else involved. But yeah, I mean, I think that they are so broken that they would find each other, because he's not human and trying to figure out what that means, and she's become more than human and can't really interact with normal people without ripping them to the skeleton. So I'm fine with this. I think it's really cool.
Sure.
On a side note, when he's not red, how handsome was Paul Bettany in this movie?
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, no.
Like he's always in most of his movies, he's kind of played second fiddle to the leading guy, and like I mean, he played a pauper to Heath Ledger's wannabe knight. I mean, come on, it's freaking Heath Ledger, you know, in A Knight's Tale. But he was damn handsome in this movie. All right, like I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. Like I've always loved me some Paul Bettany. Like his accent, he's a great actor, but man, he was just a handsome looking dude. It was impressive.
Sure.
In a movie full of handsome dudes, he was a
handsome
outstanding,
dude.
handsome looking dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up there with all the pirate angels and all them stuff. But
Yeah,
how do we feel about Cap? You know, last episode we talked about Captain America. I definitely still, like I said before, not the biggest Cap fan. This one, he had some all right scenes. His new costume looks great. His beard looks great. His shields in Wakanda look great. I still don't care. I'm sorry.
Okay, screw you. Beard grows with Thor. Yeah, the shields in Wakanda were actually terrible. I don't know why you liked them. But his suit was awesome. Like, this is a dude that's been on the run for 2 years. He's wearing the same clothes because apparently he's homeless, and he's just lost.
Has he though? Because he was in a ship with a bunch of friends. How homeless could he really have
And
been?
they talked about the hotels were not five
It's
stars.
not a
but-
home.
Dude, the ship is 5-star. Okay, like what the heck?
No,
I didn't buy. That was another storyline I didn't buy. Oh, we're sleeping in crappy hotels. You got a badass ship there. Go buy some furniture, put it on there, strap it down, install a shower. You guys are living
How do
gold.
you even refuel this ship? Like, how is it that Tony doesn't lock this shit down and fly it back? Tony has control over every electronics thing that he has ever owned. We saw in Spider-Man Homecoming that he has a jet that can take off from Avengers Tower that is remote controlled, that Happy for some reason just slaps on the ass and says, "Go get him, champ." And yet we've got this Quinjet that Cap and his friends have been flying around forever, and no one can track it? No. First off, I ain't buying that shit. But secondly, I love Cap, and his suit was so cool. So I'm willing to give it a pass.
Agreed with the storyline, Kev. Another major issue, unexplained garbage from the last 3 years. We're supposed to come back to this movie, see all the Avengers together, and figure out what they've been doing for the last 3 years, and then let's just not explain it. Oh, but they were all in the same movie, fans. Oh, they were all in the same movie. It was so cool. That was a snooze fest, that whole storyline. They underused Black Widow. By the way, I read an article this week. They interviewed 64 directors for the Black Widow movie.
Wow.
64 different people are vying for that job. So at least they're taking her solo movie seriously, because in this, she didn't do a whole lot. There was like 1 or 2 really good scenes, but she didn't do a whole lot. I don't care about Colonel used to be different guy. I don't care about don't care about either of Cap's friends. I don't care about either of them. The two guys.
He has
don't like them either.
Cap has his friends.
Even Black Panther. You just come off this movie, Black Panther, which was a cultural phenomenon, and all he did was just direct people. Like, he didn't do anything cool.
Sure.
He's got the coolest suit. We talked about that. He's got the vibranium suit. He's practically invincible, and he didn't do anything
Tim, did
cool.
you go to the bathroom through all of the awesome scenes in this movie? Because the fight at the end, Black Panther kicked major ass. Like,
sure.
First of all, he should have kicked more ass. He's
I'm not
basically
talking
invincible.
Captain America. I'm talking major ass. Like, he kicked major ass.
Thor did more damage and should have done more damage. And this brings me to another issue I have with this whole thing. So when you buy a video game like Super Smash Brothers, okay, or what's that other one that we were talking about that has the Ninja Turtles coming into it that I can never remember the name of? No.
Injustice among gods.
Yeah,
among-
whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. So anyways, you get all these characters, right? And what's the thing that everybody talks about when those games come out? The power balance. The moves that one character has versus another character, blah, 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 blah. We've got like 64 Avengers here. They all have their own sets of strengths and weaknesses.
64 movies have been leading up to this.
Right. But here's the thing. I didn't buy the way they balance these people. Like certain people should have been more powerful and certain people should have been less powerful, and certain moves that someone did should have counteracted somebody else's move and it didn't. The power balance was all over the map. Wanda shouldn't have been sitting in that tower. She's the most powerful damn thing they've got. She should have been out there in the front line. Once Thor came down and was raining down lightning, he should have just done that over and over and over and over again. But no, he does it twice, and let's cut to somebody else because we have to have 64 characters on the screen, so let's give screen time to that guy when Thor should be lightning bolting the whole damn horde of little animal people
Nobody
coming
likes
out.
a button masher. Don't repeat the move. You got to change up the moves. Come on.
But this is my point. This is what I said it during Black Panther. I said the power creep has gotten to a point where certain characters in this universe can inflict too much damage. And I'm not going to buy it if they don't just go out there and kick complete ass. Thor, right now, being one of them, being able to come down and rain lightning like he does, he should have been doing that over and over again. Black Panther should have just been going around killing everybody because they can't even stab him. He's got an invincible suit. None of this stuff like really added up. They should have had an easier time with that whole battle. Their strategy was stupid. You've got Captain America and the president of Wakanda who lives his life to be a war
Excuse me, he
director,
is not
general.
democratically elected.
This
He is not a president of Wakanda.
Yeah, he's the president
He
of
is the
Wakanda
king.
in my mind. Okay,
King
he was
T'Challa.
democratically elected.
No, he won it.
Okay,
all the tribes had to come and support
I'm sorry.
him.
Defeating a man on a waterfall is not the democratic process.
That's how we should do it,
Sit
though.
down with this, Tim. Like, you need a history lesson, but
Wait, isn't that what the
that is
debates are,
not
basically?
Wow, go listen to
That's
Dumb All
pretty much
Over
what it
because that's not what's going on.
Tom and
So the
Austin.
king-
We
the
need
king
you
of
on here. We need to help.
Yeah, talk to us about politics.
You've got the two great generals of the last, 20 years or whatever, and they can't devise a strategy. And they got their biggest secret weapon, the girl who can blow everything up, sitting in a tower alone. And somehow they let that dude creep into the tower. All of the protections that exist in Wakanda and no security alerts went off when that guy came into the tower where they're doing the work and trying to put Vision back together. None of this. I didn't buy any of that crap. It was just a
So
mess. It was too much.
The guy
mess.
who has the power to make Vision not phase, who can literally teleport because we saw him beamed up earlier in the movie, whose staff moves with his mind. You're telling me you're upset because he was able to get in somewhere where he shouldn't have been.
To be fair, they didn't explain a whole lot of his powers, and I still don't really know a whole lot of his powers. But yes, Kevin, I get what you mean. If you know the character, he should be able to do all that stuff. But I think
then he should have been able to kill everybody because he could just go to where all the major guys are, teleport right behind him, and slap
Tim, but that is exactly why Wanda was with Vision, because they knew that about this guy, and they put their most powerful.
They didn't know who was
protecting
coming.
the stone.
They didn't know who
They
was
didn't,
coming.
but that's why they were like, listen, we've got a shield around the city. We don't know what's coming, but we know we need to protect the stone. If we can save Vision, great. If not, Wanda is the only one that can destroy that stone. We're going to put her with the stone. Destroy the stone, Wanda.
Sure.
Okay.
I took it like half that.
She should have destroyed the
And
stone.
she also,
Everybody should have been a better protector of
I
the
do
stone.
want to point out, she was also badass. She also chose killing over letting Thanos get the thing. So it wasn't, I was wrong. It wasn't just Peter Quill. Both of them are awesome, badass people.
For a long time,
Too
she
late.
chose
You waited too
love.
long.
For a long time, she chose love over that, but then she finally did at the end. We have a lot of stuff about. We're gonna go into I guess the Battle of Wakanda. We already talked a whole lot about it, but another group that I wanted to talk about: Okoye, Black Widow, and Wanda. When she finally gets on the field, how cool was that? When they all teamed up together, that was a great group to have together. The, I guess, quote unquote, women of the Avengers or whatever. It doesn't even matter if they were women. They were fantastic. They were amazing on the field together, and to have them kick ass like they did in that scene, it was great. I loved it.
It was cool to see a superhero movie though, where you had 3 female good guys fighting a female bad guy, and they all felt powerful and,
Sure.
characters that stood on their own. It was a great step forward, very much like Wonder Woman, that we saw last
Definitely.
year.
And no one was like, oh, I guess let's see this scene. Everybody was like, yes, like this is an awesome scene.
Yeah, it was
so
cool.
that's great. We talked a little bit about Thor. Let's skip ahead with his storyline. He makes Stormbreaker, which is pretty cool. But he took the blunt force of the star and has the power of the Bifrost. So he teleports to Wakanda, and he is super OP. And again, 2 characters that stand out: Thor, Doctor Strange. They're super OP, and I'm totally cool with both of them being OP in this and then going forward.
But guys, don't skip over the 20-foot Peter Dinklage, right?
Which was kind
How
of interesting.
fantastic was that?
See,
when he said
I
dwarf,
hate
I
you
didn't
so much,
know.
Tim, because I hated 20-foot Peter Dinklage. I thought it looked so awkward. And why? Why would Thanos take his hands away? His hands are nothing. As Thor points out, it's all in his noggin. He's still able to make the thing. Even with just big blocky hands, he could still probably make the thing because there's other things that do it. The only reason Thor had to hold that thing open was because the little rubber band they had across it broke. That was it. He could fudge
He
another
also
one.
shut down his star, though. He shut down his star. He chopped off his hands. He's a craftsman, and they cut away his tools, and they shut off his
To be
star.
fair, he literally
I mean,
didn't need to do anything with his block hands to make that Stormbreaker. And if the star was still going, okay, if he was the last one left, okay. The hands thing was a little over the top, Thanos. That's why I hate you. That's why. Because he made Peter Dinklage not able to do anything with his hands. And some of the scenes where like it was just him, it looked kind of awkward because it's like, oh, I kind of know, like whatever. But it was really good and a really good character and somebody that I did not expect to see play what he played.
Well, that's the thing. It was one of those gimmicks. It was a visual gag that I thought actually worked because, first of all, obviously Peter Dinklage was okay with it. So, that's fine. To say that the guy who's, 3.5 feet tall is 20 feet tall. It's,
I thought it was super
for
neat,
a moment,
especially
where brief moment of
like
humor,
Jules said, they were talking about dwarves. You're expecting dwarves. They show up and he's
Right.
20 feet tall. I do think it was really cool that, like, I honest to God had no idea who Peter Dinklage would be playing in this. I want to talk for a second about how awesome Marvel was about avoiding certain spoilers in this movie based on what they did in the trailers, what they avoided, all of that, because this was great. Like,
so yeah.
Well, they cut
They
Hawkeye.
cut Hawkeye, but Hawkeye was in
they
one of
cut
the
the Hulk
trailers.
apparently
Yes,
too.
Hawkeye.
Right,
We
that's
saw
what I mean.
Hawkeye's arrows in the trailer when Cap and the rest of them go back to the new Avengers base camp there, and they cut that. So that was just to fuck with us. We did the same thing with Hulk, where there's the scene in the trailers that's still playing where I work, where you've got Hulk and everybody running through the trees. We never even got that scene. I think that's probably from the next movie or was cut altogether. But Hulk was in that. Hulk is not in this movie. I'm so sorry, my friend. They did
That is
a
the
whole
biggest
press tour that had Jeremy Renner and it had Paul Rudd in it as if they were in this movie. That's amazing. You are taking these guys who are not in this movie and telling them, get out there and pretend. Glad hand. Make everybody think you're in this movie. And my favorite was the the fact that, I mean, well, second favorite was that they edited out stones, so you'd have no idea how many Thanos had at any given time in the trailer.
Right.
My favorite was the Spider-Man arms. The 4 extra arms that came out of his suit, they completely removed from the trailer, because there's that scene where he's flying through the debris on Titan, and those arms are like grabbing everything and just being awesome, and those arms were not in the trailers. Super
That's pretty
amazing.
wild.
I
Yeah,
thought it
that's
was
pretty
so
crazy
good.
what the lengths they took to keep as many spoilers out, and that's the huge one that everybody's talking about, especially when we posted it on, or when Tim, you posted it on Instagram today. They're like, where's Hulk? And that scene, I was waiting for that scene because I knew it. We
Right.
had that
Yep.
scene where Spider-Man talked to Doctor Strange like, oh, we're using our made up names. That came up, so I was like, okay, let me see the Hulk scene whenever we get to Wakanda finally. And they're all running, and I don't even see the running scene the way that they put it in the trailer, and then there's no Hulk like ever. And it was like, what's going on? So that was kind of amazing what they're doing with all
Can you
that.
imagine being Tom Holland and going and finally seeing this movie and going, wait, where was Paul? I thought I worked with Paul. What about Jeremy Renner? Didn't I work with those guys? What happened?
Let's talk a little about or one thing about the press tour. They what's his name? Bruce Banner, he gave away the ending
Yeah,
on
he
a
did.
press tour like a year ago.
A year
This was
ago.
like a huge thing when he said that half of the Avengers died, and he was like, he took it back really quick. And there's a clip out there.
No one died.
There's a clip out there of him going back on his wording. He's like, oh my God, am I gonna get in trouble? Like, what's gonna happen?
Well,
And
have you seen the
everybody
clip
thought it
where
was
he
a joke.
said it? Because to
Yes.
me, it looked like he was trying to say something that he thought would be funny. Like he was trying to say they all die and just kind of fluff it off. And he accidentally said the truth and accidentally was like, half of them die. And then he was like, wait, that wasn't funny. That was the truth. Oh shit. And his reaction was what gave it away. If he had just left that out there, everybody would have been like, was he messing with us? Is that real? I don't know. And it would have been speculation, but the fact that he was like, oh no, that sold it.
Sure.
Can we stop saying that half the Avengers died?
They die.
I keep hearing this everywhere. No, they didn't.
Just because they come
didn't
back, just because they
die.
come back later doesn't mean they didn't die.
He's right.
No, because
let's take a little aside, okay?
I left this movie. I was crying.
There was
because
a lot
so
of
many
people crying.
dead. No one.
I want to talk to you
No one was
about
dead.
Kevin,
how much of an old grump I have become. I hate the internet now. Hate it. Absolutely hate it, because I posted something in one of the subreddits about someone posted a theory about how when this happened, the Thanos didn't kill everyone. He split the universe into two. And what we saw was that everybody that disappeared is now in the other universe. And from their perspective, we disappeared. And I was like,
I buy it.
You know what? I replied and I said, I'd buy it, except we saw them like aware of the fact that they were disappearing. And we saw Peter Parker in pain. And so the part of this I have trouble with is that he said from their perspective, everyone else disappeared. That is not the way Marvel would do that. If that was true, it would just be everybody's gone in a snap and then everybody's looking for everybody else. I'd buy it then. I'd say you're right, 100%. But we saw Peter in pain disappearing. Peter Parker floating away. I can't imagine that he is somewhere else in the universe going, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark, and Mr. Stark is the one floating away. I ain't buying it. And everybody shit all
I
over
agree with that, but I don't think he was in pain either. I just think he thought he was dying, disappearing. It didn't strike me as being in pain. It was more like, wait a second, I just saw those two people disappear. Now I don't want to go. It was the fear of the unknown, but I don't think he was in pain. But I do agree.
I want to get a little
It's the
nitpicky
perception.
because I think with him, and this is sort of interweaving some of the things from comics and everything, I think Peter was experiencing pain because it was his spider sense, knowing that he was dying, overloading. And I think it made him physically ill. He was the only one that we really saw being like, ugh. And I think it was more sensory overload than a physical pain. I think it was because of his spider sense, because everyone else was just like, oh, this is weird. And then they'd disappear.
which was a
And Samuel L. Jackson's like, mother.
Yeah, which was a great scene because I heard that Spider-Man actually he kind of improv that whole scene with Iron Man and all that stuff. I heard that's an improv that was pretty good on him, I guess.
Did you just give Tom Holland credit?
Yeah, a little bit, because that actually kind of made me like, that was the only one that I kind of felt something. All the other ones, they just kind of floated to dust. Let's get a little bit back to just something real quick. We're going to keep going, keep trucking along. But the Guardians, before the whole battle scene, the Guardians meet up with, or at the same time, I guess, Guardians meet up with Strange Iron. I have it. Strange Iron Spider.
Strange Iron
Spider. That's the new.
The Strange Iron Spider.
It's canonical now. Strange Iron Spider. Guardians meet up with them. They go to Titan. They almost complete the journey, but Star-Lord lets emotions take hold. And Strange doesn't sacrifice others for no reason, because he's seen everything, 14 million outcomes, and the one that happens needs to happen for some reason. Yep. And so it's 14 million to 1 against all the Avengers and the Guardians and everybody. And then Star-Lord just lets it go, just lets it all happen. Is this in character for him? How do we feel about Star-Lord going forward? I don't know. The last Guardians, I wasn't a big fan of Star-Lord as I used to be, because of all the stuff that they put him through. But
he's impulsive.
Now I'm just,
and he's in
it's
love.
too much.
I mean, this is in character for him. And I mean, honestly, we see from Strange, this is the only way this could play out, that anything awesome could happen. You know what? Someone on Reddit posted, and I totally agree with this. Thanos has a line where he looks at Stark and he says, "I too am cursed with knowledge." I think that Stark is the only one in the Avengers lineup that could hold the Infinity Stones and undo this. And I think that is the whole point of all of this, where, you know, Strange says, "I would sacrifice Spider-Man and you before I will hand over this stone." And then he does the exact opposite of that and trades Tony's life for the stone, not his own, not Peter's, but Tony. So I think
Because
that
we need
all
Tony
of
for
this
later.
is that Tony is gonna be the only one that can undo this, but the cost is going to be Tony's life for good. And I think Tony is going to die in Spider-Man's arms and sort of make that poetic moment between what happened on Titan. And he's going to become the Uncle Ben figure in Spider-Man stories. He's going to have
Bringing him
that,
back.
like, I could have stopped it feeling, especially
Okay.
after Tony was making comments about how hot Aunt May is. I think it just, you know, I think it could work, because he is sort of that father figure to Spider-Man at this point.
I mean, definitely going into this before, I had this idea that Captain America needed to die and Iron Man needed to die, or Cap mostly, because I just don't like Cap for whatever reason. A lot of people are on me as well, but on that side as well. But I think they're both the originators, the two captains, the two forefront. I think their stories are done, just like Loki's story was done. And we don't need any more Loki. He was just going to keep doing the cycling, the same things that they've been writing from the whole time. He needed to die, and that was okay. It was sad, but that was okay.
Well, when
and
Loki
now going
died,
forward,
I really hoped that we would get cavalier deaths like that all throughout the movie.
Sure.
Like, I loved when they snapped his neck and it was just done. Like, there was no coming back.
Thanos was looking in his eyes. That was fantastic.
Like he said, no resurrections, but I wish that had continued. And I wish that when he spaghettified Mantis and cubed Drax, that they had stayed dead as well. I wish that was the way it worked.
Sure.
I think that would be so powerful, to just lose people to senseless deaths like that. That shows how this movie could work. And I was a little disappointed.
Then I would have cared.
Right.
Definitely.
And it seemed silly to me that he does this and then walks away, and then they come back together and they're fine.
And the thing is, and that's my point, is I don't care outside of Loki, because I don't think they're going to go. I don't care about any of these deaths, because I'm not convinced that if they can find a way to bring back the dead Avengers, we saw how much Peter Quill cares about Gamora. I'm not convinced that he won't find a way to convince them to go back and save Gamora. Like, I'm just not convinced that any of these deaths meant anything, which is why I have such a big problem with the just whole plot of the movie. I go to the movies to feel things, and the whole time it just wasn't adding up to feeling anything. And in the end, I was proven right, because nobody really died. Guys, does Doctor Strange not know how to use the time stone? Is that the big secret? Like he's protecting it, but he doesn't know how to use it.
He used it in Doctor Strange.
He uses it.
Wait,
He
he
used
did?
it.
He used it.
Well, that's
He used it to kill
that's
the.
funny because Thanos just went back in time and like had it for 2 seconds and went back in time and did exactly what he should have done with it. When Doctor Strange, they almost had the glove off. Again, 2 more stupid choices. And I kind of get why Peter did what he did. Like he's impulsive. He was wrought with just what's the word I'm looking for? He was just
Overwhelmed with
he was feeling so
Yeah.
down. So his heart was torn out of him. But you're 2 seconds from getting the glove off. He's smarter than that. That's one thing we've learned about Peter Quill is he's resourceful and he's smart. They're 2 seconds from getting that glove off, and he chooses to punch him in the face when he knows the only reason that Thanos isn't crushing them is because he's being kept in that sleep.
He wasn't
Come on,
thinking
but-
about that. He
you're
was
right, Tim.
emotional. He's all those other
No,
things, but he is
he's
emotional and in
smarter
love.
than that.
The
Like
guy
Kevin
that
said
made a
He's smarter
giant
than that.
Pac-Man to fight a god one movie ago, which in his time was like a week and a half ago. You're right. The guy that
Right.
did that is so much more mature. No, wait, I hear it now. Making a giant Pac-Man to fight a god is not more mature. He is a child, and he just watched he tried to kill his girlfriend because that's the only thing that can
Yeah.
save the universe. She gets kidnapped, and he is powerless to stop it. And you find out that she is just dead. He's going to get no closure on it. He's never going to see her body. That's emotional. And if you watch that scene, Doctor Strange is standing in the background letting this happen. This is not that he's not able to stop Peter Quill. He knows this is the only way to make it happen, because if they get that glove off, some shit is going to happen. Whatever it is.
He probably went through those in the 14 million
Yeah.
endings that he saw. Is that like a couple million were okay? We take off the glove, but then
Well, then
Thanos
he's
does
not as smart as he's made out to be because he can teleport people from one place to the other. So when they get the glove off, he takes the glove, teleports someplace else. He goes and brings it to Vision. Vision frickin' to Wanda. Wanda destroys the stones. Done.
But
Game
Tim,
over.
I wish
this
it
is
was that
the
easy.
story of all of this. Is
Well,
that
it
there's
was that
only
easy.
one way
That's the
out.
point.
That's the whole point. And if you take the glove off, there's so much room in this story to just say, I'm sorry, but the temptation of that power is too great for anyone. How do you overcome that? The only answer.
Wanda would have destroyed it.
Okay, great. And also, we're going to get everybody back. Like, this is the way through, is through.
Sure.
Strange says,
Yeah,
start. We're
but
in
none
the
of these things make sense within the constructs of the characters. Again, I know Peter Quill is a child. I get that. He's immature. He was also ready to kill Gamora because in an emotional decision, he was ready to kill Gamora because of the pact he had made. In that moment, he knows the only reason that Thanos is under is because he's asleep. He knows that he killed Gamora, and the only way to kill Thanos is to get the glove off him. He knows he can't kill Thanos by punching him in the face. Come on.
He's just letting it out.
He's
man.
smarter than that.
letting it out.
He lived his whole life as that thief that was smarter than everybody else there, or at least more witty and adaptable to the situation. That's the guy that he is. That decision and the decision that Doctor Strange made, they don't ring true within those characters. They just don't. Stupid moves from people who wouldn't make that stupid
Let's take
mistake.
an aside. Let's talk about love for a second. All right. I want to talk about the look of love in Rocket's eyes when he saw Bucky's arm. That's love.
Oh man,
that's true.
Yes, and he is going to get that arm. I think he is.
And that scene where they're fighting and Bucky just picks him up and spins around while Rocket's shooting.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
New Captain America. Okay, so we have the huge battle. Vision gets the stone taken out of him, and Thanos rewinds time, and then it happens. The snapping, the snapture, the snap heard around the universe. All those things happen. We get Thanos in the end, finally having some rest and a smile on his face. What's next? What's going on? We already said they're going to come back. Okay, it's the journey, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, but
do we think
no one's going to think to look for him on a Peruvian llama farm? So I think he's safe.
So seeing this a second time, I think it's going to have, I think for me, it has and a lot of Marvel fans, I think it has its longevity up until the next one comes out. I think that's where it kind of ends. It had the best opening weekend so far ever of all time or whatever, and it still hasn't opened in China yet, or the China market, but it's still going to have that Deathly Hallows effect where you're not going to really want to watch this one when the next one comes out, because this is all set up pretty much, and you're going to watch it for some scenes, some quips, the Squidward line or whatever. But I think once the second one comes out, this one becomes pointless.
The
Footloose line, some lines like that. But of course, I'm assuming,
is it still the greatest movie ever? It never was.
that they're gonna up the ante on this next one, and because we already know, that it gets changed, things happen. Somebody's gonna die for the better part of the universe, whatever. But I think once the second one comes out, I'm not gonna want to watch this first one. But for right now, it's kind of fantastic.
I watched Deathly Hallows Part 1 all the time. It was a great movie.
Not compared to Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Mostly because they didn't erase it at the end. Like Deathly Hallows works in two parts because they didn't erase the first one at the end of the first movie.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yes, we do. Because we know the characters that are confirmed to be in future movies.
They can unconfirm them. We saw Hulk. We saw Hawkeye in the trailers.
No,
they can say that.
You don't do that.
Marvel can do that. Marvel has a ton of money.
It's business, man. You have tentpole releases scheduled. You have theaters buying ads, time, all this kind of stuff based on tentpole releases. That's set in stone. It's happening. So those guys aren't dead. So they just wiped out the whole movie. The whole movie was just a big celebration, running on a treadmill. We're just moving, but we're not going anywhere. Now let's pick up in the second movie where actually things start to happen. But I don't really care, because basically what they've proven is they jumped the shark and they can now do whatever they want to do in any moment. There's so much power in these 6 Infinity Stones, or whatever they have to achieve to take it from him, and then what they can do when they get them, that they can just make it up as they go along. So I don't really care. I don't really care anymore.
Okay, cool. That's what they do in comics all the time, and people still care. Like it just gets reversed all the time. I don't know why. Ask Kevin.
Why would I care about these characters now? Why is there any tension when I know that at any moment they can basically pull whatever they want to out of thin air to erase whatever they just did,
always been able to do that.
Something they undid before. Yeah, but they've never exhibited that in any of the movies. That's what builds tension. That's what builds, like, oh my gosh, if these people were actually dead and I left the movie and they killed half of the Avengers, I would have said this was the greatest movie ever. I would have said this is the greatest movie ever, because they had the balls to do that. And I would have gone in the next movie thinking, who are they going to kill next? Now I'm like, I don't really kill anybody. They're just going to bring them back from the dead. So whenever there's a scene with a death, I don't know if that's final or not.
Tim,
who cares?
what if they don't?
Tension.
What if they don't bring them back? Are you gonna take it all back?
Yes. Okay. If they cancel Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Spider-Man Homecoming 2, and those people are actually dead, I'll eat my words and take it all back. This was the greatest movie I've ever seen.
The next movie is just going to be like Captain America walking around raking up the leaves that everybody became. Just piling them up. I got to say, the saddest death, the saddest disappearance in all of this was Falcon. Because no one knows Falcon is gone.
I don't care about Falcon.
No one knows he's gone, though. Rhodey, the man who he crippled, comes looking for him. And he's like, Sam? And Sam disappears, and Rhodey has no idea he's gone. I cry. I cry almost as hard as I cry with Groot disappearing. I cry for Sam. Sam is so sad.
Kevin, as a comic book fan, reader, or whatever, what's next? A lot of people are talking about, or I'm not going to say what's next because you don't obviously know, but what are your thoughts on what's going to happen? The other world, all those contemplations about what's going to happen with somebody sacrificing themselves. What do you think?
So the whole point of the Soul Stone is that it's sentient. So I think that we created the Soul Stone. I think it's Gamora. I think that everybody that disappeared is in the Soul Stone. So I think the next movie is going to be split between the heroes that are left, which is the original Avengers team, plus, I don't know, like a handful of extras, fighting against Thanos on the outside. We're going to have everybody else inside the Soul Stone fighting against him on the inside. And I think that we're going to have to figure out how to get those two together. And that's going to be either using Captain Marvel or something related to Ant-Man or Ghost, the villain from Ant-Man 2.
Sure.
to bring it all together, and that's why we get those two movies in between.
A lot of people are saying Adam Warlock is going to come, but they haven't really alluded to it. But then again, we weren't alluded to the whole stones and, having Thanos collect them all in this movie. So anything can happen. A lot of people are saying Adam Warlock. Captain Marvel, it might play a huge role, but again, a lot of people are saying that this is just the next movie. So they're just trying to promote the next movie.
No, this is definitely Captain Marvel. It definitely shows up in the next Avengers movie. No fucking doubt about it.
Thoughts on the name of the next Avengers movie? So I have one that I don't think a lot of people have said, or I haven't read anywhere that anybody said, but I think they're going to finally take the jump. And this one's going to be Avengers Multiverse. I think there's going to be some other, we haven't talked about any of the universes ever, and this is a huge thing, but this would actually make it way too complex for the movies going forward. But I think it's going to be Avengers Multiverse. That would be interesting way to get these new characters in to old IPs like Iron Man, Cap, and all that stuff, just to pull them from another universe, get new actors.
No,
Sure.
You're wrong. It's going to be called something dumb like Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay.
No, it's going to be called Infinite Disappointment.
So we got our thoughts. Do we want to rate it every time we watch a movie? We rate these movies on 5 different things. We have the Nerdytainment that counts for 2. That counts as 2. So Nerdytainment, if we liked the movie, acting and directing, which is 1. We have story and we have visuals. I have mine right here. Tim's gonna hate me right now, but Nerdytainment 10. Both of them are 10. I loved it. Had a fantastic time. I felt a lot of things.
I just want to ask, because I always
Sure.
do this with you, Jules. Let me disagree. Why? Like, why did you enjoy it so much?
Because I had everybody that in one movie.
Because it had everybody in it.
I mean, I wasn't done talking, but it's cool. Keep going.
But that's the thing. I read. This is the biggest example of that I've ever seen of I wanted this movie to be good, so it's going to be good. When I wrote down my thoughts after I saw it, I slept on it. I went back and I reviewed it the next morning. I hadn't read any reviews, and I said, no, this is still how I feel. And I said, I bet you, because I didn't know what Rotten Tomatoes was or anything, but I said, I bet you Rotten Tomatoes is somewhere around 90. And I bet you if I read the reviews, most of the reviews are going to say, well, there was major plot holes, things that didn't make any sense, but there were all the characters on the screen at once, and that was really cool to see. So I loved it. It was the greatest movie ever. And that was literally all of the reviews that I read. Even the professional reviews were saying, well, the thing at the end where everybody's dead and they're probably not really dead, that puts a damper on everything. But they managed to get all these characters on screen at once. That was a marvelous job by the Russo brothers. So we're really anointing a movie simply because of the amount of characters they want to put on screen at any one given time?
No. So I really wanted to see Ready Player One. I really wanted that to be really good. You already know I hated that movie. I really wanted Ghost in the Shell to be really good. I wanted to see that live action. We already know that was shit. So I really just wanted to have my own opinion about all these movies. About this movie, I really liked it because the Thanos character was fantastic. Having them all together because of their interactions was kind of fantastic. That was the main point.
Right.
And it wasn't just that they're all together. It's like, okay, I can see them all together, but it was their interactions, of the way they interacted and how I kind of always wanted them to interact. They did it correctly, and they gave each of their voices some solid time, and I think they gave it enough time. The Thanos, of course, we didn't really get into his whole meaning and the whole reasoning why. That was kind of flaky, but still it had enough for me to care. And the visuals were stunning. It was kind of fantastic, except for some which I'll talk about in a little bit, some visual aspects in the CGI that were a little weird that I didn't really see very well, and it wasn't good. But all in all, it was just a fantastic culmination of everything that I've seen before, and I was okay with it. And I'm okay with saying if this movie was bad, and I'm okay with saying if something was bad, I'll say it, and it's not because of anybody else's reasons than my own. But I really did enjoy this movie. Nerdytainment, both 10. Acting and directing, 10. Story was a 10. Visuals, 9.7 because of those weird
Story
things.
was a 10?
I loved it. Ready Player One sucked, my man, and you loved it, so it's okay. 9.7 on the visuals because Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster during some of the ending scene, that was a little off, and the Thanos size comparison with Hulk in that first action sequence and his size comparisons were a little weird throughout the whole time, and I kind of noticed that, especially when he had the reality stone, which can go, get chalked up to he's imagining himself a different size when he had the whole reality stone, but he was a little off from his sizes throughout the whole movie, I think. So
Jules has big issues with scale.
It was, yeah.
You said the same thing in Pacific Rim. I just think it's kind of funny that those are the things that you pick up on. I don't
know. Sizes are
You're
weird.
good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's impressive. I'm not being sarcastic in that comment. It's just interesting that in 2 movies we've reviewed recently, one of your major issues was scale, and I don't even see
because
those things.
sometimes I see Thanos, and in Pacific Rim I said I see them as these huge things, these huge deals, and then whenever I see Thanos in some parts, he's on the floor, especially in the reality stone scene when he's on the floor and Gamora's crying, he looks a little bit smaller than he was in a couple scenes before, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's the camera angle or something, but to me it still looked a little wonky. But either way, there's a 9 point, what was it?
Great.
I give this movie a 9.94.
9.94. Okay. You know what? I'm going to have to go with 8 for Nerdytainment because there were problems with it. And it was such a tense movie. I was spending most of my time wondering who was going to die. I gave it a 9 for the directing, a 9 for the story, and a 9 for the visuals because
the plot holes don't bother you.
Plot holes, you know what? This is half a movie, Tim. For now, I have to say I trust that this is going to work out. I'm willing to wait a year to see the rest of this movie.
We have our hearts in Marvel's hands, and Marvel's gauntlets. We leave our hearts to them.
So I give it an 8.6 overall.
Tim, your rating.
Nerdytainment, a 6. It was highly disappointing, but I loved the Guardians and Thor element. I truly enjoyed every time they were on the screen. It was funny. Their dynamic was great. Tony Stark was amazing, always amazing. Him and Doctor Strange were great together. If you could have cut out the other Avengers, this would have been a much better movie. So I'll give it points for that. 6. Acting and directing, I'll give it an 8. The actors, we've seen these guys for 12, 13 movies, whatever it's been, deliver their parts exceptionally well, and they continued to do that. Everybody played the role perfectly. And the Russo brothers brought 64 characters together and actually all gave them screen time, and that was, good on them. Like, nice job kind of trying to keep it all together. Where it fell apart is the story. It was like watching 6 or 7 different movies. There wasn't a cohesive feel from these different separated groups and scenes. The movie didn't matter. The movie didn't matter. I spent 2.5 hours, and what the end result was, they're going to erase in the next movie. And that's why Jules is like, I don't know if I'll enjoy this when I see the next movie. Right. All they would have had to do was make Infinity War one movie, say Thanos got all the Infinity Stones and killed everybody. Now let's start where the real plot actually happens. The plot had no significance. And my biggest problem is now it's jumped the shark to the point where I don't trust anything that happens. Any death might not be a real death. Where's the tension? There's no tension in the next movie. I don't feel any of that going in. The whole movie was a gimmick. It was, let's see how many characters we can put on screen. Let's see how big the shock and awe can be. How much devastation can Thanos do? And none of it really worked. The amount of characters made it more convoluted than it needed to be. And Thanos killing everybody doesn't matter because apparently we can go back and undo killings. 3 on the story. Won't give it any more than that. Visuals were an 8. Spider-Man's suit sucked. There was some issues. The first suit sucked. There was some issues with the Hulk and a couple of other, but by and large, 8. That's pretty good. I think it's about where I put Black Panther or something like that. So overall, it was 6.2. It was a watchable movie, but for the culmination of 10 years of superhero movies, this was a massive disappointment.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if the people are willing to overlook just a complete lack of story.
No, sure. We have some people that really got into it and are on your side, on your thinking wavelength in the last of the audio files. So we'll definitely get to that. But Kevin, what do you? Oh, we're already done, right? We already
We're done.
ranked them all.
Let's listen to
Okay.
some of the podcasts then.
Sure.
Here we go.
Oh wait, hold
This
on.
is Sawyer, and I'm one of the hosts of the podcast.
What?
I edited heavily, just so you know. I am sorry again. This is our podcast. All right.
Hey, this is Sawyer, and I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. What are you worried about? I have a lot of thoughts about Infinity War. It was awesome. I'm basically dumbfounded at how they pulled it off. Thanos was way more menacing than I could have even possibly imagined, and how dark that movie got was insane to me. But I think the most important realization that I had personally was that I learned that Thor is my favorite Avenger. That's something I never thought I would have ever said ever. His entire interactions with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and especially Rocket, I was doubled over laughing the entire time. But they also managed to humanize him, which is something I think they've struggled to do in every movie he's been in. And seeing him actually deal with the loss of his brother and his father and all the Asgardians really just gave his character a depth that he didn't have before. And then, of course, when he comes in with that axe and just rips shit in Wakanda, that was something else. So I'm excited to see where he goes in the future. And of course, I can't wait to see what happens in Avengers 4.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is JD Short, and I am a co-host of a podcast called The Snappy Hour. I am very happy with Avengers Infinity War. And for many different reasons, the entire movie just felt really large. Even the way that they shot it was really interesting. They basically made everything just seem like it was a little closer to you, which made the grandeur of the entire movie just feel so fun. So I really enjoyed that part. I was also really surprised at some of the genuine kind of heart-wrenching scenes, like between, hopefully not a spoiler alert, but between Black Widow and Hulk when they first meet in this movie. I actually felt this really nice, genuine moment there that actually called back to Age of Ultron, which honestly was the worst of the three movies. And speaking of worsts and bests, this is probably the best Marvel movie yet. We will see. I cannot wait for part 2. Thank you so much, Nerdy Things, for letting me be a part of your show.
Hello, my name is Derek from Genuine Wrestle Boys. It was bleak. It was emotional. There were stakes. Even if all those stakes may reverse next year, we'll see. I thought Thanos giving Thor a lifted Samoan driver was especially sick, as someone who looks for wrestling moves in every movie they watch. And also, here's a hot take. Thanos was right.
Hi, this is Jenna from the podcast A Bit Much, where we talk about books and movies. I feel like it did a lot of things really well. There were a lot of really epic moments, really cool action scenes, and I've really admired the Russo brothers' work in previous Marvel movies, so obviously I was psyched about that. But then there was that ending, which obviously is probably the controversial part about the film, and it just felt to me like they took the narrative arc of this story and then stopped it 2/3 of the way through and just left us in sort of the belly of the whale. Each individual movie has, in my memory, had its own narrative arc. So I just was a little shocked that they decided to end it where they did and then force us to wait a year or whatever to see that resolved.
Hi, I'm Daniel. And I'm Quentin. We are Double Issue, a superhero fiction podcast. Daniel, what was your favorite part? Seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy hooking it up with the other Avengers, especially my good buddies Thor and Rocket. What was your favorite part?
Probably magic battle between Doctor Strange and Weird Mind Man, or the Groot arm handle moment. What was your biggest disappointment?
Just how rushed and pushed together everything felt. It just felt like there was a whole lot going on that maybe could have been simplified a little bit.
Mine was the lack of tension at the end. Once Black Panther got disappeared, I was like, oh, well, I guess they undo that one.
In the next movie, I finally want to see Adam Warlock make it to the screen.
Hey guys, Jules, Kevin, Tim, the Nerdy Boys. This is Derek from The Wild Pitch and
up,
from
Derek?
the Pop-Up Filmcast. Did I see Avengers? Yes. Did I enjoy Avengers? Yes. Do I ever need to see Avengers again? I don't think so. I think I got it all in one take. Is it the best movie I've ever seen? No. Is it the worst movie I've ever seen? No. It was very entertaining, but it is, to me, the cinematic equivalent of a mid-season finale for The Walking Dead. Entertaining, but, whatever.
Hello, I'm John, the silent partner that won't shut up on relevant to our interests. I don't think it was a movie because no movie has ever existed that has required me to know 18 other movies, and that's just weird. But it was great, and you know what? There were some of the people that died, and I kind of was really okay with them dying. And Thanos, I loved Thanos, absolutely fell in love with him, and that's all I can say on here. Try and find us, and I'll say more.
Hello, this is Elizabeth from Podcast Collective Presents, and I did like The Avengers Infinity War. There's a lot to say about that movie, but I just want to talk about one probably very controversial opinion that I have about it. I think the ending of Infinity War should be the ending of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's harsh.
To really understand the movie, you have to watch all of the movies, not just for plot reasons, but to care about the characters and to understand where they came from and to care about what happens to them. And that's a lot of movies and a lot of time and money people have to spend and invest into those movies. And many of us are tired of having to see several superhero movies a year, and all of them are like at least 10 to 15 euros. And we're tired of all the franchising and the universes. I love the ending of Infinity War, and I think the ending of Infinity War should have been the whole ending of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hey everyone, this is Michael.
And I'm Kyle.
And we run the American Gods Cast.
So the villain delivered on a level no other Marvel movie has. Thanos is to be feared from the first frame all the way to the last. Seeing the Infinity Gauntlet in action was so satisfying, even though it was against all the heroes that we love.
They seamlessly integrated a plethora of characters that they took over a decade to bring together in a way that was perfect for the general audience, including the Guardians. Marvel is on top of the movie industry, and they will continue to dominate if they keep producing films of this quality like they are now in the future. And we know they've got at least 10 more planned, so it seems like they're going to keep this going.
Hey folks, this is David Gossett, and I portrayed Jack on Unfollow the Revolution. First off, the story is juggling so many characters in a way that's super impressive. They were even able to get a cast this big and make it work. On top of that, Josh Brolin as Thanos is amazing. His character is portrayed in a fantastic way, especially since he's like the main character of the movie. Really pulls it off. Now for some low points. Guardians of the Galaxy, they did kind of get flanderized a little bit. I know they're the funny team, but they kind of are all the jokes all the time for most of the film. That's a bummer. The Asgardians getting slaughtered in like the first minute or so of the movie kind of undercuts all of Thor Ragnarok, which is a bummer. So yeah, overall though, totally check it out. It's a great film. And if you haven't seen it yet, then you just make me sad.
Hello, everyone. This is Will from the Rocket Punch crew.
And Chris from the Rocket Punch crew. It really set a whole new bar as far as the movie-going experience, as far as I can say. You know, everybody was trying to make a case for other movies this year, and this one came out the gate swinging right from the beginning. They didn't hold your hand. You know, 18 movies in, and they're still coming in strong. I also give it a 5 out of 5.
Fair enough. My favorite part is the fact that it's from moment one, it is nonstop action. I don't feel like there was any kind of misstep as far as the grouping or the pairing of characters.
Yeah, it was almost like going to a theme park, and, you know, Disney knows theme parks, right? And it was like spending the whole day at a theme park, just nonstop roller coaster ride, just kept kicking every time. Thought it was over, it wasn't, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to agree with at least half of what was just said because it was awesome. I think this was the most ambitious podcast crossover in history. Jules,
in
thank
history,
you for setting this up, my friend.
That is amazing.
Kudos to Jules.
Plus, over 20 podcasts, over 20, I don't even know, 30 podcasters' voices. You just heard the most ambitious podcaster crossover on this episode of Nerdy Things Podcast. Who do you agree with? Who's right? Who's wrong? What's going on? We all have our own opinions. Let us know. Definitely. We'd love to hear some more of you, and definitely stay subscribed on this podcast. If you want to hear us talk about a bunch of nerdy things every week, every Friday, we release a new episode, and we talk about things like the Avengers. We talk about villains. We talk about movies, video games, all this other stuff, all the nerdy news of the week. Definitely subscribe to us if you'd like, and stick around and hang out with us because we're super cool. And definitely,
we did a better job of this than they did of making all of the characters in Infinity War.
I tried. I tried just for you, Tim, to make this
nice
good.
job,
I
Jules.
spent like
Jules
3
as the
hours.
director. You did better than Mr. McFeely, the writer. You did a much
Thank
better
you
job.
to all the
of weaving
podcasters
these
that sent us
stories together.
audio, but thank you to me for sitting through all of them and cutting them down and making y'all sound beautiful. You are welcome, because some audio wasn't that great. Don't forget, you can reach us on most social media at Nerdy Things Pod. That's Nerdy Things Pod. You can send us an email at nerdythingspod@gmail.com. Oh, they know I'm kidding with them. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news updated daily and links to our merch for shirts and more. Again, we have 3 new designs: the gamer as fuck, the nerdy as fuck, and the Thanos is my dad merch. All of those 3 are on 20% discount right now on our website. Just click the little merch tab, and we have those designs that can go on a t-shirt, hoodie, sticker, pretty much anything you want. And we have over 25 designs total that you can pick from and grab some merch from there. Links to our YouTube to watch the podcast episodes, because we do these on video. And if you want to see us instead of just listen to us, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're all waving for you audio listeners. You could have saw us, but you didn't. Our Patreon for extra content like bloopers and early access to our stuff. Again, for just $1 on our Patreon, you get the episode a day earlier. You get to be in these live sessions with us. You get some other cool stuff. We get merch. We give away some stuff. You get bloopers. You get a bunch of other stuff on our Patreon for just $1 or more if you'd like. But $1 is all you need for all the access to everything. And that's awesome. We have a ton of patrons, and it's so cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you can text us or leave us a voicemail, 978-78-NERDY. That's 978-786-3739. Call us, please. Call us, text us, call us, and let us know how wrong one of us is. And whoever it is, totally cool. Not Kevin. Tim, for sure. But if we're wrong too, if you hated it, we want to hear all that stuff too, because we got a whole lot of love for Avengers. But if you hated it, definitely speak up. It's totally cool. Tim will be your advocate if you hated Avengers, and you'll be on his side. I like to think
that's Tim's super tweets.
Tim's super tweets for all the hate tweets. Yes, please, not Nerdy Things Pod. I like to thank Adipsia for the use of our song "Friends Don't Let Friends." Go to TGI Fridays. You can hear more of his music at adipsia.bandcamp.com. He just released a new album called Imbue.
And I'd like to thank the Bell Curve for the music we use under the main topic. All right.
Talk to you all later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.